All right, let's talk about a silent war, one that's being fought every single second of every day. It's not happening on some remote battlefield, but in the digital world. A new Google Threat Intelligence report is painting a pretty startling picture for us, showing that the global defense industry is under a constant, relentless attack. And the secrets thereafter? Well, they could literally shift the balance of global power.
You know, the report doesn't pull any punches. It calls it a constant, multi-vector siege. Now that's some strong language. And it tells you this isn't just, a couple of hackers messing around. We're talking about a coordinated assault from all sides, aimed right at the heart of national security.
So the big question is, who's behind all this? Well, according to Google, the most serious threats aren't coming from some rogue group. No, they're state-sponsored. And the report zeroes in on 4 countries in particular. And here they are, the 4 major players in this ongoing digital Cold War: Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. Now, each of them has its own unique playbook, their own reasons for doing this. Everything from trying to steal blueprints for next-gen weapons to just causing chaos in the supply chain. But at the end of the day, they all want the same thing: a strategic leg up.
Okay, so how are they actually doing it? How are they getting in? The report breaks down their whole playbook into 4 main fronts, and it gives us this really rare look into the strategies these sophisticated cyber armies are using.
So here's what we're looking at. They're exploiting tech on the actual battlefield, they're infiltrating companies by targeting the people who work there, they're breaching network devices, and they're launching these incredibly complex supply chain attacks. We're going to dive a little deeper into those first 2 because they really show just how direct and, frankly, personal these attacks have become. This first front is really where the digital and the physical worlds just smash into each other. We're seeing cyber operations that are having a direct impact on the war in Ukraine. Just try to imagine this. You're a soldier on the front lines, and suddenly your drone feed gets hijacked, or your command system starts feeding you bad intel. That's the kind of real-time life-or-death impact we're talking about here.
And these are not just broad, spray-and-pray kind of attacks. The report gets into some incredibly specific operations. You've got threat groups, which Google tracks with these codes like UNC5125, going after drone operators with custom-built malware. Then there's another group, UNC5114, that went so far as to create a fake software update for a specific combat system being used in Ukraine. It's surgical, it's really sophisticated, and it's happening as we speak.
So while some of these groups are focused on the battlefield, others have figured out that, hey, sometimes the easiest way into a secure building is to target the people who already have the keys. This second front is all about infiltrating from the inside. And this is where things get really personal. Attackers are playing the long game here, using some seriously slick social engineering. Take North Korea's infamous Operation Dream Job. They'll dangle these incredible, high-paying job offers in front of employees in the defense sector. The Lazarus Group is even using AI to scrape social media to build these detailed psychological profiles of their targets. And at the same time, Iranian groups are making fake apps like resume builders that secretly install malware on your device. It all comes down to exploiting good old-fashioned human trust. To really make this hit home, let's put a name to a couple of the most prominent groups the report mentions. Once you understand who they are, you start to see how their different approaches work. So, on one hand, you've got North Korea's Lazarus Group. They're basically famous for these elaborate dream job schemes targeting individuals. But on the other hand, you have China's Volt Typhoon. They take a much stealthier path, just quietly poking around military login portals, trying to find a crack in the armor without anyone noticing. 2 very different styles.
And this slide just brilliantly shows how creative these groups can be. Here we have 2 different Russian-affiliated groups, and they're both targeting the same secure messaging app, Signal. But watch how they do it. One group, UNC5792, cleverly uses the app's own device linking feature to hijack an account from a distance. Meanwhile, APT44, also known as Sandworm, goes old school. They get their hands on the actual device and run a script to rip the data right off of it.
So, we've seen the who and the how, but let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture. Why does this constant digital siege matter so much? What's really at stake? When you boil it all down, Google's report points to 3 huge overarching threats. First, you've got this relentless high-volume barrage of attacks from China-nexus actors that just creates a constant state of emergency. Second, the human element is still a massive vulnerability, with people being targeted in more and more sophisticated ways. And finally, the entire supply chain is at risk.
Think about it. One tiny breach at a small parts supplier could set off a domino effect that compromises a whole multi-billion-dollar defense program.
This quote from the report really just says it all, doesn't it? It's not just one thing. It's the combination of the sheer volume of intrusions, the constant attacks on people, and the fragility of the supply chain that creates such a clear and present danger for the whole defense ecosystem.
And all of this leaves us with a final kind of provocative thought. As our military technology gets more and more advanced, more interconnected, is it possible the real fight for national security is now being waged in total silence, through networks and servers, one line of code at a time? Maybe the most important front line in modern conflict is no longer a place you can even see.